is yours, is yours.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom, welcome. It is such a pleasure to be here on this cold, really first wintry Pittsburgh evening. With a little bit of snow out there, I am impressed that you are with us this evening in virtual community and here with us in the Beit Temple Emanuel of South Hills. Welcome. As you may have seen, student cantor Sierra Fox is not able to be with us this weekend, but we are excited, second to none, Rabbi Emily Meyer, joining us in the leadership of tonight's service as we recognize how good it is to be together and as we recognize the blessings over candles in Kiddush, the joy, the light, the sweetness of Shabbat, beginning on page 2 in our prayer books, page 2, followed by page 5. It's my pleasure to kindle those lights of Shabbat, to invite forward Congregational President Michelle Markowitz, if you would join us.
Shabbat Shalom.
We turn to page 5 in our prayer books. I would invite you to rise, if it's comfortable to do so, as we join together in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchatanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim. I invite you to take your seats. I invite you to turn to page 12 in our prayer book as we find our next prayer. And as Emily and I look into the live stream, I notice that we've been missing our V8. The cameras are just a little bit out of whack, so I'm going to make my way to the back of the room to adjust them. I'm not leaving, don't worry. But we might all begin praying together on page 12.
Lechu niranena, yai dai 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 dai, l'Adonai, yai dai 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 dai, Nahariya, yai dai 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 dai, Litzor Yishenu, yai dai 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 dai. Let us sing out to God, maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear God's song. Lechu niranena, yai dai 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 dai, l'Adonai, yai dai 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 dai, Nahariya, yai dai 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 dai, Litzor Yishenu, yai dai 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 dai. For all of the wonder and all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our heart to hear God's voice. Lechu niranena, yai dai 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 dai, l'Adonai, yai dai 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 dai, Nahariya, yai dai 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 dai, Litzor Yishenu, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai.
Our Kabbalat Shabbat service starts with psalms and songs from our tradition, just allowing our bodies, allowing our voices to awake, to arise. And on page 13, we find the next psalm in the list, Psalm 96. If you toggle between the Hebrew and the English, you'll be able to sing along with us.
Kind of. Please sing along. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Words of Lecha Dodi can be found in our prayer books on pages 20 and 21. With these words, we welcome Shabbat, as the mystics did in northern Israel. Though the sun has set, we imagine Shabbat has entered this space along with us, that we might recognize and greet and hold close those who are dear, as well as the feeling of Shabbat as we gather together in prayer.
Lecha lecha dodi likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem u'tiferet b'lit hila la 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 la. L'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha l'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki mikor habracha, mirosh mikedem nesucha. Sov ma'aseh b'machshvat chila la 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 la. L'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha l'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki v'orech kumiori, uri shir daberi, kevod nai alaich nigla la 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 la. L'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha l'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela.
I invite you to rise.
Boi v'shalom ateret bara, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segura. Boi chala la 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 la. L'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha l'chadati likat kala v'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela.
In this day and age of Omicron, we probably don't want to be crossing the space to shake hands, but if you want to offer a friendly wave to those who are around you, to say Shabbat Shalom to those you are with, to use the comment box to build sacred community now and in the Zoom oneg to follow, I invite you to do so before taking your seats as we continue on pages 24 and following words of Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Yon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
On page 27, entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without God's presence. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'amad yivrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, bagala, bagala, uv'izman kariv v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam ulam me'almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela miko birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imeru. Amen. Our Baruch Hu praise, our call to worship, page 28. Again, I would invite you to rise if it's comfortable to do so.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Would you join with me in the English on the top of page 31? Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, as you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv, Aravim. And on the bottom of page 33, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, pages 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You're welcome to be seated as we continue now, page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meotecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levadnecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, ukshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkuru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
On page 40 in our prayer books, we find our Mi Chamocha praise, our reminder during each and every service that freedom isn't something that we can take for granted, that requires active effort on the part of us and those around us to ensure it's not only something we can continue to enjoy in this world, but something extended to those still in need. We continue together in song, page 40.
Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai la lai la ya la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la ya la 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'edim Adonai, mi kamocha nehera b'kodesh, nora tehi lo rosefere, nora tehi lo rosefere. Malechutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam nifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zedianu ve'ameru, Zedianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai. Yai lai la lai la ya la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la ya la 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 lai.
In the English, on the bottom of page 43, give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
On a cold evening such as this, it can be tempting to just want to cover up at home, to huddle under a blanket, and to not move. Some of us are doing that this evening, and I'm glad you've joined us anyways, and others are with us in this sacred space. But we all feel that sense of needing to rest after what has been a long week. Shabbat provides us that opportunity each and every week to take a step back, to take a deep breath, to be part of the world rather than trying to shape and mold it to our needs, to simply be, to rest, to recover, to rejuvenate, to prepare for the week ahead. Words of Vishamru on the top of page 44 remind us of that blessing, of that covenant.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם.
The Amidah Tefillah, the central portion of our service this evening, begins on pages 46 and following. As you find your page, I invite you to rise in person, in spirit, as we join together in prayer. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham be'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunatahu lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'agevurot, Umito melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha salah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh.
The remaining prayers of this section of our service can be found in our prayer book through page 62, and I would invite you to use these traditional words of prayer or to use that which can only come from our own minds and hearts to guide us in this next moment of silent prayer. When you've finished your silent prayers this evening, I would invite you to be seated. We turn now to words of Mishaberach Lecholim, our prayer for those who are ill and in need of healing this Shabbat. The words to this prayer can be found on page 235. And before we join together in this blessing, I would invite you at this time to call to mind those in need of a spirit of healing, healing of mind, of body, of soul. And if there are names, if there are family members, if there are friends or loved ones you are thinking of this evening, I would invite you to share their name aloud, that we might concentrate our focus, not only our prayers, but our efforts and energies throughout the week to come on bringing a measure of comfort to all who are in need. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, who brings a measure of comfort to all who are ill.
Mi sheberach avotenu mikol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imahotenu mikol habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Rabbi Bradley Artson writes, "We live with great uncertainty. While we ransack the past and its accumulated wisdom for guidance, we also know the degree of change today in every aspect of our lives is without precedent. Groping in the dark, trending uncertainly down a road never before taken, humanity is unaware of its destination today and isn't even sure it's enjoying the trip." These words are even more true today than when he wrote them in 2001. It's a wacky time. While COVID vaccines and booster doses seem to largely prevent the serious illness and death of early days of this pandemic for those without underlying conditions, those who have not caught the Omicron variant feel as if we are merely waiting online for it to happen. We feel frustrated that things are not as they were, and frustration with the change being imposed on us from every single direction. We don't realistically know how this ends or when it ends, and I, for one, am not enjoying the trip. The words of this week's Torah portion take on new meaning during this time of sky-high case counts. The Israelites were huddled in their homes, fearing the death taking place outside their doors. They gathered in small groups, rather fearful to leave, and when they did act, it was rushed and hurried. And it's that last part that I want to call your attention to this evening. Rushed and hurried. It's how the Israelites were to eat their sacrificial meal, we read in Exodus 12:11. You shall eat it hurriedly, the text says. The traditional food reminiscent of the time, matzah, is by definition hurried. Quote, they baked unleavened cakes of dough that they had taken out of Egypt. It was not leavened, since they had been driven out quickly and could not delay, we read in Exodus 12:39. Move quickly, rush, everything is hurried, we read. Except that it wasn't. Earlier in the very same chapter, God gave the people a 10-day eviction notice from Egypt. Quote, speak to the whole community of Israel and say that on the 10th of this month, they should take a lamb. And after that 10-day warning, a 4-day grace period. Quote, you should keep watch over it until the 14th day of the month, referring to the lamb. We know they had time because they have fleeced the Egyptians of all the materials they would need to make the tabernacle later. So when the text says they were hurried, they had 2 weeks to bake a loaf of bread. Perhaps that rush was less literally true than it was figuratively true. When the world around us feels constantly changing and tumultuous, it never feels like we have enough information to make good decisions. We don't have the opportunity to sit and evaluate and ponder, because when we stop to do so, The options we're pondering become outdated, and the facts themselves often change. Groping in the dark, treading uncertainly down a road never before taken, everything feels rushed and hurried, not temporally, but emotionally. We're rushing from fact, to unknown, to speculation, to fact, rather than from place to place, but it's still absolutely exhausting. That too might be where words from this week's Torah portion take on new meaning. While it says the Israelites should eat their sacrificial offering hurriedly, they were still encouraged to prepare. Quote, your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand. The text doesn't say that for there to be meaning in the Exodus, you had to be caught unaware. Actually, just the opposite. Things were in turmoil. They were scared and felt unsettled, and that's why they were commanded to use that time in preparation. Okay, remember that this is figurative and not literal. I don't recommend Googling gird your loins. I'm afraid of what would come up if you were to do so. I don't recommend that that's what you attempt to do. But I do recommend that you think through and think about how to prepare so that this world feels a little less overwhelming. What's most important to you that you're willing to take a little bit of a greater risk when it comes to COVID-19, to see or to do or to experience or to achieve? What higher risk activities have safer options, allowing you to concert your risky experiences and those you really need? What backup plans can you put in place for that time when we inevitably have to quarantine? What do you have control over in this world that you can solidify, that you can lock down, that you can prepare, so you can make quick decisions from a place of discernment and values rather than haste and hurry? I realize that doing so won't solve the challenges of this day and age. It might, however, allow you a bit of clarity as you prepare to face them. There's reason to be cautious and concerned and even fearful. As Rabbi Artson said in 2001, and how much the more so is it true now, the degree of change today in every aspect of our lives is without precedent. Everything feels rushed and hurried because we don't have all of the certainty and information we would like. If we can do as our ancient ancestors did, though, if we can use this time and transform our waiting into meaningful preparation, we may not enjoy the journey, but at least we will be better ready for whatever life has in store. Shabbat Shalom. I invite you to turn with us back in your prayer books, page 282, for words of Aleinu L'Shabeach. When you have found your page 282, bottom of the page, I would invite you to rise as we join together.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
I invite you to be seated at this time, and would you join me for a reading before Mourner's Kaddish on the bottom of page 290. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. As we prepare for words of Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish, on page 294, we remember all of those upon whose shoulders we stand as we reach for greater heights this Shabbat. We mourn the recent passing of Joan Scheinholtz, who is laid to rest, and observe the period of Shloshim for Lucille Hubscher, Jonathan Levy, and Phyllis Selma Schloss. This Shabbat we mark the yahrzeit to the commemoration of the passing of Henry B. Bernson, Joseph B. Bernstein, Julia Bobis, Rose Breslow, Steve Brose, Morris Chotner, Rose Cohen, Sheldon A. Cohen, Ferna Taxa Egger, Julian Feldman, Phyllis Feldman, Philip Feldman, Milton Field, Frida Freeman, Annie Genstein, Leon Genstein, Victoria Henderson, Pauline Jacobowitz, Max M. Jacobson, Lee F. Joseph, Jacob Kaufman, May Kaufman, Stuart F. Kaufman, Therese D. Koval, Harry Lebovitz, Ida Lenkowitz, Harry I. Levine, Elizabeth Lowy, Sarah Midler, Taylor Nathan, Milton Parker, Kenneth H. Peresman, Leon Plattner, Alfred Robinson, Barbara Sadkin, Ben Sadkin, Leonard Sadkin, Rose Sadkin, Leon Simon, Celia Sudik, Helen Spirer, Annetta Stein, Dr. Lee Trachtenberg, Morris Wolf, and Pearl Zollett. If there are others you are remembering this Shabbat, or if I have inadvertently mispronounced the name of a loved one, I would invite you to share their name at this time. Yehei zichronam livracha, may their memories be for us an everlasting blessing. We affirm words of Mourner's Kaddish together on page 294, and I would invite you to rise. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, belma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach leolam umei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata damiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May God, who makes peace in the highest of heavens, make peace for us and for all who mourn. And together we say, Amen. I invite you to be seated. But a few words of announcement before our closing song this evening. Immediately following our service this evening, for those who are with us in the virtual space, Mary, Catherine, and Amy Pardo invite you to a Zoom Zoneg. Can I go there?
Absolutely.
a chance to continue the sacred community. Though they won't be able to email you coffee or cookies, they will be able to offer the chance to join together in community during this challenging time, to share the conversations with friends close and more distant that you might otherwise see at services. If you're a member of Temple, that link should be in your email box, or it is the regular link that we use for so many activities that you have from study, from programs, from the last time we brought this sacred community together for a Zoneg. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Amy, for hosting this wonderful evening. We'll continue tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the virtual space with our Shabbat morning service, 9 o'clock Torah study on Zoom, followed again by a chance for more conversation, community. Is it a Zoneg after Torah study? I don't know. We'll have to work out the nomenclature. Regardless. Thank you, Leslie Hoffman, Temple's Executive Director, for putting together everything behind the scenes, and Rabbi Emily Meyer for leading us in a beautiful service, if not for your alliterative excellence at the end. And a tremendous thank you to all who have braved this cold to be with us this Shabbat. For words of our concluding song, what do you have in the mood for?
I think we're going to go with Adon Olam.
Wonderful.
It's on page 321.
Fantastic.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nifra, Leit Nasa B'chefsa Kol, Azai Malach Shemanika Adon Olam, Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado Himloch Nora Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hove, V'hu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nifra, Leit Nasa B'chefsa Kol, Azai Malach Shemanika Adon Olam, V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni, L'am Shelo L'achbir Adon Olam, V'li Reshit, V'li Tachlit, V'lo Ha'oz V'hamisa Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nifra, Leit Nasa B'chefsa Kol, Azai Malach Shemanika Adon Olam, V'hu Eli V'chai Goli, V'tzochav Li Beit Tzara Adon Olam, V'hu Nisi Umanos Li, Menarkosi B'yomika Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nifra, Leit Nasa B'chefsa Kol, Azai Malach Shemanika Adon Olam, B'yado Avkid Ruchi, Beit Yishan V'Ira Adon Olam, Ve'im Ruchi Geviati, Adonai Li V'lo Ira Adon Olam.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.